You want to start us off?
Yeah. So I think we're gonna break this up into a two-part series, which is totally fine. 2 episodes for two fantastic films. I think it's worth it. But today we're gonna do the official sequel to The Shining, which is Doctor Sleep. Which, although the film came out almost 40 years after the original film, I think the books weren't too far apart. But I didn't read. I didn't read out of the book. Not that I have anything against books. I just didn't. I didn't realize Doctor Sleep was like a thing for the longest time. Because it was. I think the book itself came out after 2010, but the
Mm,
film came out 2019, 2020, somewhere around then.
2019, yeah.
Yeah, but the book came out I think before that, maybe a few years, maybe not too long, but yeah, it was just crazy. I remember hearing quite a bit about it, and it was like, oh, was the official sequel to The Shining done by Stephen King, and I'm like, oh, that's crazy. I was like, I never thought there'd be a sequel because like, where could it have gone from there? It felt like it was a story that was told essentially completely, and you're like, well, okay, cool. I guess he was just, he saw an opportunity and he was like, yeah, I'll just go with it. And that's Stephen King in a nutshell. If he can write something, he will, even if it doesn't make a lot of sense. But um, but I think Doctor Sleep is interesting because obviously it's done by a different director, not Stanley Kubrick, sadly, because different time and everything. But it still has some elements that you can feel are similar, which I think was just trying to be like an homage, but it's still a very different film. It's definitely not a psychological horror kind of thriller, terrifying thing. I don't really know exactly how to describe it, but I suppose it's kind of thrilling.
I think it's still a horror. Yeah, sure. I'd
It's
consider
not.
it still to be horror.
I suppose it has like horror elements. Yeah, I suppose it's just not terrifying. But I'm more desensitized to that kind of stuff these days. So I suppose yeah, that's fair. It's probably yeah. But anyway, let's dive in. So I saw it I think a few months back, and I really really enjoyed it. When I watched Doctor Sleep, though, I'd only seen The Shining once or twice back in my youth, so a whole lot of it, I remember like the Overlook Hotel. I remember the whole ghost thing. I remember Danny kind of had like the weird telepathic thing. I had very I couldn't remember everything about it. So I remember there were the girls. But I didn't know a lot of the story connections. I didn't fully understand everything. Like Dick even reappearing as a ghost for Danny didn't even clock in my head about the fact that he was in the first film and stuff like that. So that was interesting. And then I was just like, okay, well they're delving more into how The Shining is more than just telepathy. It's like there's actual powers that kind of go with it. Each person's version of Shining can be different, even though they're all kind of similar, and blah blah blah. And it's mostly following the story of a now grown up Danny Torrance and how he's learn to accept what his gift is, how he helps another person, another child with the Shining, and how they basically battle an evil person who can shine. That's basically the story in a nutshell. We'll go more in depth naturally. And they also bring up how the Overlook Hotel isn't just like a place that's haunted, it's like it itself is kind of an entity. Like it has its own shine, I suppose you could say, its own presence and power, and how that can amplify shining abilities and also be devastating for shiners. It's like a whole fleshed out thing now. It's quite incredible. So I think we'll start probably with probably one of the cool first bits is so we still see a young Danny Torrance, and he's still kind of accepting getting over everything that's happened at the Overlook Hotel, the horrors and stuff that's been going on. And he's still haunted by the twins. He's still haunted by the lady in the bathtub who kind of strangled him and stuff from room 237, if you remember. And basically, they've followed him. Those entities have followed him to where he lives now, and he's still freaked out. He doesn't know what to do. But Dick has, even though he's dead, Dick can still communicate with him because he can see ghosts as part of the Shining ability. And Dick has basically taught him one of the things he did to cope with problematic entities is you can create a space where you have these boxes, and you capture these entities almost Ghostbusters style into these boxes, and you contain them away. And Danny does that with the bathtub lady in his own apartment as a young kid. Goes in there, traps her in, no longer bathtub lady. And then over the years, he deals with the other Overlook ones that have haunted him, and his mental space where he captures them all, is the frozen hedge maze, which is
Interesting, isn't it?
yeah, it's quite cool that that's what he picked out of everything, you know. But I suppose it was a terrifying place for him, so it's a place he doesn't want to have to go back to. But you know, he puts bad things there, so it's I get that. So what about you? What did you initially think of the film?
Well, I was very apprehensive because it's like one of those situations where there's something that you really, really love, especially a piece of art or a movie in particular,
Mm.
and now somebody's doing either a remake, a reboot, or a sequel to it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
as you say, after all these years,
It's like just random.
yeah.
It's
And if
like
it was
why?
exactly, and if it was a sequel to a film that I kind of liked, I really liked, but wasn't that kind of mad for, then that's one thing. But this is a film which, it's like when somebody makes a cover version of a really good piece of music that you absolutely love, and you just assume, well, they're going to wreck it. There's no way you're going to get better
Mm.
or as good as, or be alongside of the original. So on the one hand, I had that feeling. I was a little bit worried about it. On the other hand, I was thinking it's such a fantastic film and great story, and I loved it so much. Of course, I must see this. If it's going to be a continuation of the story, I want to see what kind of how well it's made. How hopefully it's going to be. Even if it's remotely good, it's going to entertain me. I'm going to enjoy it, and if it's got references to the original, especially, I'm going to enjoy it, much as I enjoyed Room 237. Happily for me, I watched it at the cinema with your mum, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Different. I wasn't expecting it. There's no way it was going to be Kubrick style. It was going to be its own thing, and it was different in styling, but it had a good style of its own. And it's interesting that I know now, as I'm researching this particular podcast, that the director is Mike Flanagan, who I don't know if you've got things to say about him, but certainly I know that you've seen a lot of his modern day work, known for some of the things on Netflix. In particular, some really great horror dramas that have been on Netflix of late, like The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah,
I particularly enjoyed Midnight Mass, and particularly enjoyed.
that was good. Absolutely
Those
good.
are all thoroughly enjoyable, I thought, and so it kind of makes sense to me that so that would be, if I was choosing the director for this, that the director of those things, those pieces would be a good choice.
Definitely.
And I think he treated it with respect. I think I don't know much about the book,
No.
as he said, it came out a few years before, but I'm guessing that he treated the book with respect. He looked like he had a bit of a Stephen King style to the film, more so than the Kubrick original. So I'm thinking that he was much more loyal to the book than Kubrick would have been. But at the same time, there's a lot of homage to the film, which I especially liked. That was the important thing to me, because I love the film. I love The Shining, so I wanted references to it, but I wanted good, kind of good references and good.
Definitely.
We're
going to talk about those. We're definitely going to talk about those.
There was a lot of it, and I was very pleased about that. It made me happy, especially towards the end of the film. I mean, the whole film was entertaining, in its own right, in its own, it stood on its own as far as I'm concerned. I would have enjoyed that film, even if I hadn't seen The Shining, or nothing to do with that. I would have enjoyed the film. It's entertaining. But because I love The Shining, especially towards the end, when there's a lot, it was packed with Shining references, and we were back at the Overlook Hotel. I especially enjoyed that. I think it was a good treatment. Good treatment.
Yeah. I think I feel about the same. I was definitely looking forward to the references, and you knew it had to happen. You knew there had to be some more connection to it, because they had the you had the little moments where he's haunted by the Overlook people, but you didn't see him haunted by all of them. There's apparently just tons and tons of the Overlook guests that are ghosts that he's haunted by, and around the end of the film, he unleashes all of them because there's a big fight and stuff, and it's one of the things he does. And you get to see all of them, and you're like, so that's a lot of ghosts that were never really brought up and stuff. We'll get to the references, because that alone, that whole section is great, and we do have to talk about that. But I think we have to kind of work our way to it. So there's basically this the big bad of the film. So it's a typical, good guy, bad guy kind of situation in this, and there's this I guess she's a shiner, as they would say, but she's more in tune with her powers. She apparently they can absorb people's like souls or essence or power or energy. I don't really know exactly what, but it manifests itself as steam, and she's one of the people who can absorb that steam to like continue staying young and immortal and powerful and stuff. She's basically got this little coven of people that all can shine and all do the same, and they all work together to find these other people who shine. And I think they can get steam off of regular people too, but it's mostly the ones who shine who have like the best steam that can really help them. The regular people, they don't really have it. So I guess it's like they're stealing the shine, but it kills them if they do. I don't fully understand all of that, but that's essentially what they're doing. This coven of people led by this one lady mainly, who's at the helm because she's been doing it the longest. She's the most powerful and stuff. She's getting other people who shine, who have abilities, but apparently shining isn't just telepathic communication. That there's also like astral projection. There's like what was it? There's the one girl that she recruits that's she's got like some powerful ability. I really don't remember the full-on details. She's able to manipulate others to do what she says. Yeah, so that's her power. She joins the coven. It's a lot. It's a lot to talk about, but the main point is you've got this group of bad guys led by the main bad guy. They all can shine. They all can shine with different abilities. It's like they've manifested shining to do more than just telepathic communication. And Danny's now grown up. He's dealt with a lot of the horrors of his past. He's boxed a bunch of them away, except for Dick, because Dick is a good one, and he helps him. He helps him cope with like a lot of his emotional problems and stuff. And Danny ends up learning about a young girl who can shine, kind of like how Dick helped him when he was a kid. He feels sort of the same to do that, but at the same time he's like, look, you need to not really do much with the shining. You need to just kind of, you're best living your life. You want to keep it hush hush. It just causes trouble and everything. So he kind of tries to push her away from it. But it's not like they see each other in person. They communicate like well across the country from each other. So you could tell she's quite powerful to be able to do that back and forth with like no sweat. But they communicate through a wall in his apartment, which is quite interesting. I thought that was quite a cool concept. It was almost like some other kind of ghosty films do similar things where, people might write things, or in Stranger Things where, Will was touching different lights to be able to actually communicate with his mum from the upside down and stuff. It's similar things to that, which I thought was interesting. Let's see. What else? There's just so much of this. There's so much packed into this film when you really think about it. So much.
There is. I think that's true for Mike Flanagan's stuff in general. I think that I do find him as in his own right a very interesting director in his treatment of Hill House, for example, and Blind Manor. I mean, with Blind Manor, I was especially interested that he going in one direction. It's got Blind Manor is very similar to the Innocents, the turning of the screw, the original story, the turning of the screw, which the film The Innocents was based on. It starts out a bit like that, but then it goes in a different direction and it goes into all kinds of in-depth.
Yeah.
So in fact, he's a little bit like the Stephen King in the sense that he's kind of really, really a little bit ponderous. He goes on. He's got there's a lot to unpack. There's lots of story to go into.
And it's not like they're little notices. It's almost like they carry on themselves, almost like little subplots or different threads.
Yeah.
But you've still got the main plot happening. But it's like in order to progress this plot, you have to also, you have to understand these are all important and why they're important, and then these only work because of this, and it just carries on and on and on. And after a point, you're like, I'm getting a bit lost now. There's a lot more stuff going on than I thought, and you can get a bit dwelled down in it. Yeah,
but I think I like the way he does it better than Stephen King. He's got better pacing. I think Stephen King's a little bit ponderous for me, and whereas Flanagan, you're right, it gets a little bit overcomplicated.
Yeah,
but at least it's moving. At least it's keep that suspense going and rolling, and you don't have to. It doesn't take forever to discover what's really going on in the situation. And I suppose now I realise that he directed this film. it kind of makes sense that there's a lot packed in there. Not in the same way that with Kubrick packs a lot into the original or any of his films, because if you watch them to like Room 237, it's like every single scene has like lots of little secret references and lots of little, which is maybe true or may not be true, but most likely is true. Kubrick was very, very particular to have minor details, these little puzzles like the final scene, but you'd have little puzzles in small scenes which would pass you by, which is why you have to watch that film over and over again. And look, I did not realize, I didn't spot that. The reference here to that and the reference there to that. And so it's a little bit more of a subtle and kind of the hidden little things that Kubrick packs into his films. But whereas Flanagan, there's just a lot going on. As he said, he starts introducing all kinds of subplots, all kinds of characters, and it goes on, and it becomes a very, very kind of, you're just keeping up with it. By the end of it, you're thinking, oh my God,
Yeah, it's certainly a lot. So I do have another little summary to help paint a bit more of a picture. So so Danny goes by Dan, but we're going to call him Danny. It's just it's a great name. Played by Ewan McGregor, by the way. Fantastic choice for an actor for a grown-up Danny. I thought that was great. He sadly he's kind of older. He's got a place of his own because his mum's died and everything, and he has to move on with life. And he tries to be a functioning member of society, but he's not got like big education, or he's not able to make money super well, but he's doing the best he can. And obviously he's had his mental problems and stuff before, and he has The Shining. He's got the ghost strapped away and everything, so he's in a bit of a rut, doing the best he can. Gets a place, and it's like, okay, you got to pay this much and stuff. And just outside there's like a little cute train service thing, for like kids and stuff. And he ends up talking to the owner, and he ends up getting a job. And the owner's like, I could tell, this guy's a little strange in the head. He's maybe he's like a previous alcoholic or something. He's got his own demons, and he just needs help. So he ends up pointing him to meetings with other people to kind of help point him in a better direction, because he believes, he's like a recovering alcoholic, or he was a junkie. He's got issues. He just needs help in that aspect. He doesn't know the full details of how The Shining and stuff is. And, it's not a thing people talk about. And through the AA meetings, if you will, he ends up meeting somebody who lost a watch, and because he kept like clutching at his wrist. But Danny noticed that, and he goes, oh, and he through his shining ability, he's able to basically tell him, oh, you left it in so and so, and he helps him out with a problem. It's like, oh, I can't believe you would have known that. And eventually that guy that he helped is a doctor of a hospice care, and he's like, hey, that's interesting, and he basically ends up having Danny become an orderly for him. And what ends up happening is Danny takes like this job. He cleans up the place. He's an orderly. He takes care of the older people who, the hospice care, they do die and everything. And he's also working with a cat. The cat tends to let him know when somebody's about to be passing on. And then he goes and he sits with these people, and Danny talks to him, and using his shining power, he's able to kind of help them reminisce of certain good memories. So he's able to help them with any of their harder feelings and stuff. He helps comfort them and help them be ready to move on, essentially. And he ends up acquiring the moniker Dr. Sleep from the patients, which I thought was quite a cool nod that you got to actually learn why it's called Dr. Sleep, because otherwise you're like, what a fucking random name, what does that have to do with The Shining? So I thought that was an interesting little touch, and it helps him. If anything, it does help Danny kind of become better, more comfortable with his existence and his shining capabilities, and it was a nice little growing moment, I thought, for him. I think there's also like missing kids and stuff. Like a lot of the other people who shine get killed by the evil coven of people. The coven of people aren't even aware that Danny exists, because he doesn't shine, he doesn't do much of his stuff very loud. But the young girl that he's in contact with does, because she's very powerful. She doesn't know exactly how to use it, which is a problem. And then eventually the coven become aware of that, and they become aware of her.
They don't know what they're messing with.
Quite right.
Which I like. I do like about this film throughout. There's a sense of menace all the time through this
Definitely.
particular film.
Definitely.
but also there's a sense that you just kind of know that Danny and this girl, that they're kind of the best. You know, they're going to kick ass. They're going to once they have to be drawn into something that they don't necessarily choose to. You just know that they're going to
they can handle themselves,
they're going to crush
and
it.
they do, because I remember I think it was the leader of the coven. She herself has kind of a mental battle, if you will, with little girls called Abby or Abra. I think she's got a funny kind of name. I think it is Abra.
Yeah.
Might be short for Abigail. I don't remember why, but basically, the coven lady loses, which she is like terrified of, because I think she was able to like you can enter each other's mind and take like information and stuff. There's like so much more depth to the whole shining thing. It just makes it sound like you should have known this, but it's like, well, we didn't know any of this shit. We just knew you could telepathically communicate. We thought that was it with the shining, but apparently there's so much more to it, and it just kind of throws it all at you and expects you to process it pretty quickly, which is fine. But yeah, so eventually, they have their fight. It doesn't go super well. Coven lady's like, right, I need to juice up. I need to be ready. We're gonna take out this kid. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. She gets like really freaked out, and so she and her coven are basically like, all right, we gotta do some stuff. Let's get some more steam. Let's get powerful. Let's we'll hunt these people down and stuff. And they eventually do track down her location, but because Abra is in contact with Danny, although her parents don't know, and it gets confusing. There's just so much to it. So Danny kind of goes and meets Abra, or was it Abra who met Danny first? I don't remember, but I know that I know she calls him Uncle Danny, but her parents are like, who the fuck is Uncle Danny? We don't know an Uncle Danny. And she tries to introduce him and everything. Like, oh, this feels like a really messed up situation. Like, we don't know you. We don't know how you know each other. This is all like, it just screams red flags and stuff for them. And it's like, well, obviously you don't know. You know that your child has powers. I have the similar kind of stuff. We've been in contact and everything. Your child is in danger, sort of a situation. Then I think, because the coven like knows her location. I don't remember exactly how they got the information, probably from some kind of a mind thing that ended up happening. But they're coming. They're coming to get Abby. Danny and Abra go to like a different place in the woods, kind of set up an ambush, if I remember. And I think they kind of win it. Don't fully remember. Let me see.
I think it's almost like a setup to kind of draw them.
Yeah.
Into the overlook situation later on. I think, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, something like that. And
it's a while since I've seen the film, so.
Yeah, I don't remember if they captured Abra then, or if. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Dan and Billy go into the woods to bait the cult using Abra, who was appearing from her kitchen. Okay, so Abra wasn't with them, but she appeared to be there with them, so they fooled the cult into thinking they were there in the woods. Dan and Billy hide and begin shooting at the cult members, and Rose feels the pain as each of them are killed off one by one. Billy shoots Andy, but she uses her last breaths to manipulate Billy into fatally shooting himself in the head. Meanwhile, Crow, another cult member, kills Dave and abducts Abra. There's other people involved who don't shine. Not super relevant, I'm afraid. But basically, the cult do catch Abra. Yeah, so some of the cult members did go, some of them did not. And the ones that did not, the Crow guy, he stayed, and he was able to capture Abra at her house. And then Dan returns home and is able to link his mind to Abra's and briefly possess her. Together they cause Crow to steer into a tree, and since he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, he's ejected and he's killed. So basically you're left with just the one lady, I forget her name. The one lady of the cult is basically the last one left alive after this encounter.
The main one, Rose the Hat.
Rose the Hat, that's it. Rose the Hat. So then basically everybody, Dan and Abra link up. Rose is coming. Rose is pissed. And they're like, oh shit, what are we going to do? She's coming. She's strong. How are we going to deal with this? And Dan's like, all right, we got to go somewhere. This place is dangerous for people of our kind, but we can use it to our advantage. And that's when he takes her to the Overlook Hotel, which is why the Overlook is so important again, because he's like, this place is, it like amplifies our abilities, but it also feeds off of them. It's like a weird entity all of itself is the Overlook Hotel. Oh, it's so one of the cool things from the first Shining was when Jack starts kind of losing it. He ends up going into this big old party hall. I think it's called the Gold Room or something like that.
Yeah, the Gold Room. Yeah.
And the lights are off and stuff, but it's got a bar. He turns on some lights and he just sits at the bar, but nothing's stocked. And he's like, what I wouldn't give for a drink. And he's kind of losing it. And the bartender Lloyd appears, serves him a drink, and you can tell, okay, he's kind of losing a little bit here, but whatever, he's just having a bit of a drink. Everything seems fine. In Dr. Sleep, Danny goes up to that same bar, and he is served by the ghost of Jack. But he's called Lloyd, because Lloyd is the bartender. Now, what I believe is the Overlook Hotel, the people who died there, or whatever, the ghosts and stuff, they don't stay as their same person. They're kind of manipulated into this weird purgatory kind of situation for the hotel, and the hotel does what it wants with them. I don't know if it's based on their vices or something like that. Maybe that's why Jack became the bartender. Maybe that's just a cool scene they wanted to do.
Well, it's someone with the Grady situation when Delbert became Charles became whatever,
Yeah,
probably the same sort of thing. They kind of rotate roles, or maybe that was just trying to tie that up with a nice, convenient knot.
Yeah. I thought that was a great scene. The fact that he went up and he saw the young Jack Torrance, almost like he was back in The Shining, serving him at the bar. And even though he's Lloyd the bartender, there's like this inkling, like Danny knows that's my dad, but Lloyd doesn't know. But there's inklings, the conversation they have, and he's calling him dad, and he's like, this is all this and stuff, and you could tell like Jack kind of drops the act here and there, but he doesn't fully break out of character. So it's just so cool, so cool. And Danny tells him, all the stuff that happened and everything, how he knew she was dying and stuff. Oh, here we go. Lloyd then drops the facade and channels Jack before downing the drink he offered Dan. Just great. It's just great. It was just a great scene to see.
Sure, look at that scene, because you have to remind myself of it. It's a while since I've seen it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Let me share screen here, and I'll have a look at that scene.
Dove.
Yeah.
Don't forget Dove. Oh yeah, here we go. Don't forget the sound.
Well, is that sound not working again?
No, you got to share sound every time. Remember?
Oh, for goodness sake! For goodness sake! I can't remember how I did it the first time.
Is it somewhere around share screen stuff, or?
It's under the more button. Okay, I think we're good now.
It was comfortable and we were happy.
Here?
Yeah.
I was 20 when she died.
I was curious whether it was Jack Nicholson.
Back then,
clearly, it was the guy that was meant to look like
I
him.
saw, when someone was going to die, I saw flies. Black flies, death flies.
Henry Thomas.
Circling people's faces. And in those last weeks,
does
she
look
was
like him.
covered. Her whole face. I could barely see her eyes. And I tried to comfort her, but I could hardly look at her. And she saw that.
Maybe something warm to push away such unpleasantries.
Don't you want to hear about it? She was your wife.
I think you've mistaken me for someone else. I'm just a bartender.
Oh, yeah. Just Lloyd the bartender, pouring joy at the Overlook Hotel.
I'll pour whatever you like, Mr. Torrance.
That's such a powerful scene.
Man takes a drink.
You did it.
The drink takes a drink. And then the drink takes a man. Ain't it so, Dad?
Medicine. Medicine is what it is. Bona fide cure-all. The mind is a blackboard. And this is the eraser. A man tries. He provides. but he's surrounded by mouths and a family, a wife, a kid. Those mouths eat time. They eat your days on Earth. They just gobble them up. It's enough to make a man sick. And this is the medicine. So tell me, bub, are you gonna take your medicine?
I'm not.
Well, that was quite absorbing. I was doing a podcast and I was straight into the scene.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, quite frankly, like I say the first, it's because this is like the last 20-30 minutes of the film is the Overlook Hotel stuff, but all of before the film, you could tell, like, obviously, even though it was Shining based stuff, it didn't quite feel like it was of the same vein.
Yeah.
Until you get to the Overlook Hotel portion, then all of a sudden it all kind of ties together, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, everything's still connected in a weird way. So I'm really glad they did this portion. They kept the hotel, they kept the references, the interesting imagery and everything about it. Because otherwise, if you didn't have any of the Overlook Hotel stuff, this film could have easily been a standalone thing, and you wouldn't have even remotely known it was connected to The Shining. It could have easily been a completely different story.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to become a segment now, isn't it? We're just going to talking about what we're drinking just for funsies. So I'm on. It's called Bear Island. It's an East Coast Pale Ale. I've never had it before, but it sounded all right. Deep gold pale ale boasting citrus aromas, light caramel notes, and a robusta bitterness. It blends the best of US and British hops.
Bear what?
Bear Island.
I've heard of that.
No, I'll let you know how it is.
Might just be the place that I've heard of, not the
Could be.
The beer.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of a Bear Island, but yeah, I don't know much about a beer for it.
Well, I'm just going to finish my fab and I'll get my beer in a minute. I'm freezing a glass in the freezer so I can have a nice frozen glass.
Very fancy.
I really need an orange slice because I'm going to have well, you'll see in a minute.
Ooh. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice.
Is it like a Pilsner or an IPA or something?
It's a pale ale.
American pale ale.
Yeah. It's apparently made on the East Coast, but it's made using American and British hops.
Mm.
Yeah, I've got to admit, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I've been saving it for about 2 weeks for this podcast. Well, I've saved it for like 4 days. I didn't get it that long ago.
Ooh.
You
see that?
Yeah, that looks good. Oh, you got the beer. Is that the beer 52 glass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a beer. No, it's a beer hawk glass.
Oh, a beer hawk glass. Oh, I've only got a beer hawk stein.
And he said it's a beer hawk. So I'm gonna open the bottle with a present that I got, one Father's Day present that I got.
Ah.
Which I don't know how it works, but I'm trying to figure it out. This is from Jordan.
Hmm.
We'll do a late Father's Day special. And the beer I'm opening is from another Father's Day present I got.
Hmm.
Which you will remember.
Oh, God.
I don't know why I'm showing the video picture. This stuff I should be showing it to the camera, shouldn't I?
Yeah, there you go. That's good.
I don't know how it works. It's got kind of a thing springing inside or something. I don't know what you do with this.
Hopefully it tells you.
I get you a good viewing of it. Don't fire up in the bleachers, the bleeders, nosebleeds. What we call them.
Nosebleeds. That's right.
I honestly don't know all that. Just pull that back there, maybe, and then you go.
Oh, and then it shoots it. Oh.
I guess it shoots it once it's got it off, but how do you get it off? That's the thing.
Do you to like spin around or something? Is there no instructions? Nothing.
No. Well, I mean, there are of the target to fire at.
Oh, that's novelty.
But how do you get it off though? That's the thing. Does it
Oh,
not actually
does it
shoot?
not
It's
show it at the
bottle cap
bottom of the
filter.
target?
Hey. Oh, remove bottle cap. Pull back trigger. Remove bottle cap. But it's just a plastic thing. I'm going to remove it with that. Pull back the trigger. How do I don't get it. Oh, I see. Yeah, I've got a thing. Oh, don't shoot yet. Oh, right, ready?
Yep.
Line up the. See if I can get this on video somehow.
Oh my god.
Oh, I keep looking at the wrong thing. The camera I should be looking at, not the video. I keep looking at the video screen. Stupid. Oh, there's a. No, which one want to put focus first? Do we focus on that? Right, ready? I'm going to shoot myself now.
Yep.
Shoot a bottle cap in my eye.
Yep. We're ready.
I'll go that way around. No, if I do that way down, you see, so you can see the target. The trouble is, I'm going to end up shooting myself. I know. Oh, there's the button. Right. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
That went nowhere near. Way over the target. We'll have another go at that later. Anyway, my frosted glass is not as frosty now.
Oh man, that's great.
Hogarden, lovely. Vice.
Very nice.
Not wheat beer, but white beer.
Yeah, it's one of Tom's favorite beers.
Yeah. Nice, lovely Belgian. Nice, refreshing. I like Hogarden, but I normally like to take it with a slice of orange.
Mm.
And I don't have any. Well, we've got some oranges, but the little small ones. I think they
Wouldn't quite work.
Right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, let me. I can't see you now. I'll go back to the screen. Put that back on.
Oh man.
Beer will probably disappear.
There you go. That's yeah.
Back on.
Yeah, you look okay. Don't worry. You're looking good on my screen. Don't worry.
You can see the beer, or is it?
Oh no, your beer
beer
disappears too. Oh, that's kind of weird.
Invisible beer.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Oh, there it is. Oh, you've gone now.
Cheers. As I saying.
Yep. Is he?
Which is not where the beer comes from, but anyway. It is where I'll be going in September.
Oh, right.
Right. Should we talk movies?
I suppose we should. Should we start with what we've seen this past week? I think it's usually a good starting point for us, isn't it? Until we're able to get properly back into things. But it is the season of work, so we do the best we can. I'm trying to think what I've been seeing this week. We've been watching an awful lot of the television show Lucifer, which is really good. It's on Netflix. I don't know where it was before Netflix, if I'm honest with you, but I do recognize the name of it, but I'd never watched it before in the past. But we've been watching it an awful lot now, and it's you can tell it's got the recipe of like a lot of television shows did back in like 2000s, mid 2010 kind of era, where it's we're a crime solving duo, and we do this, do that, and there's also all this other supernatural stuff going on, like other shows might do vampires, or they're werewolves, or they interact with ghosts or something. There's always some gimmick. And then in this one, it's like there's a lot of biblical references. There's obviously Lucifer is the devil. You've got his brother Amenadiel, who makes quite a few appearances, and he's an angel. They make references to their dad and stuff. And at first I was like, okay, just a little gimmicky, a little goofy and stuff. But they've leaned a lot more into it now with the biblical references, which is quite interesting. And honestly, it took about 3 seasons to really get the ball rolling, like where it really got interesting again. Because there was a whole season where it was just the crime stuff, and like nothing interesting happened, and you're just like the whole show's about, he's the devil, and he's having like a life crisis and stuff, and he's not sure if he's properly the devil anymore, and he has a terrible relationship with his dad God and all this stuff, and he's not. It was good, but there was just a whole season of none of that, which was just like, well, it's just then we're just watching like CSI or something, and it's just not the same.
Right.
But it's good. It's really good. I do recommend it once it really gets going.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've been watching more TV than films. I don't know if I'm watching films this week.
Yeah, I feel
you.
you.
I have watched one film, and as typically a very old film. But in terms of TV, there's some new series, and I mean they're not new. I mean there's new seasons of old series that have been cropping up. Obviously, you probably watched the whole way through Stranger Things already, as we've done.
Oh, definitely. I mean, had to binge that as soon as I could. It was fantastic.
Yeah, season 4, yeah, and that was good. But then that was all done and dusted by last week or the week before, and then we got on to another series that we really like on. I think it's Hulu series, and it's Steve Martin and Martin Short in The Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah. I recognise the name.
Season 2 is out, so we're watching that now religiously, waiting for each episode to come out. Lots of fun. Seriously recommend it. Steve Martin and Martin Short have still got it, and it's just interesting and entertaining. Every episode is yes, there's an overarching story, but each episode has got just really unusual, quirky little short stories or plots in it, which just are interesting, and there's all kinds of twists and turns, some really clever kind of funny twists and turns along the way, and just really likable characters. And then just come out this week, I think, and this is on FX, of all channels, is What We Do in the Shadows new season. I think that's season 4.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was coming out now.
Yeah, it's not on BBC because the first 3 seasons were on BBC, but this is on FX. So it might, some people might miss it, but if you're a fan, I particularly like Matt Berry, but I like all. I think the whole cast are funny, and then right down to Colin, the energy.
Yeah, the energy vampire.
Vampire. It's just funny.
Just such a great idea.
Yeah, the concept is funny, isn't it? But I think all the cast, I think, are all funny. They've all got something to offer.
Definitely.
And it's the new season is, again, they've gone off on a real tangent here, because of course in the end of last season Colin died, but then a baby, some sort of clone or something, emerged out of his shell of a body, and they have developed that. They're developing that story further, which is really quite interesting and funny. Baby Colin, and it's who's not really Colin, but he's played by the same actor, but he's a baby.
Oh right, yeah.
He's really kind of outlandish and fiendish, and it's just that part is funny, and just the twists and the turns of the plot are interesting and worth watching. It's definitely worth picking up if you enjoy the other series. Then certainly, right, for me personally, I enjoyed the movie, and Jermaine Clement has stayed connected to the series. He's a producer of the series. I know. I think he's a writer. But for me, the TV series is much funnier than the movie, and probably mainly for the cast. And I think the movie had a good cast, but with Matt Berry, you can't go wrong. Put Matt Berry in anything, and it just makes me laugh.
Just let him be Matt Berry, and you like it was instant success.
It's a few words, and even just the way he talks makes me laugh.
Yeah,
it's just so funny.
That's great. Oh, I'll definitely be catching up on that then. That sounds great.
And then finally, the film that I watched was I've seen it before. I've seen bits of it before, but I've not seen it all the way through. It's a classic sci-fi. I won't say classic really, but an old sci-fi, British sci-fi called The Earth Dies Screaming, which is that as a title I think is more famous as a UB40 song for music fans, and fans of UB40 will recognise that as a song title of theirs, of a classic UB40 song. But the movie that the sort of song must have taken its name from is quite a cheesy. It's a little bit cheesy, but it plays pretty well for a cheesy movie, kind of a B movie, a British sci-fi B movie. Not much goes on in the film. There's not much story to it, but it's got what I absolutely observed is the aliens or the kind of bad guys are really well. There's as basic as you can imagine, but somehow they're just really menacing, and it's very suspenseful. So I was quite impressed with how, even though there's so little story, and it's so it's very clearly a low budget movie, and yet it is quite the situations they create situations where they're really suspenseful, and you actually do kind of get I'm a bit worried about what's going to happen to this character here, and what these creatures are going to do. It's actually is worth. It's definitely worth a look. Let's put it like that. Don't expect too much from it, but it's worth a look.
Oh, sounds different. Sounds I mean, nothing wrong with a good B movie, So
I'll see out the poster. I'm sure there's as there were for all of those 50s and 60s sci-fi B movies, even and the classics, British or American. There's usually a really cool poster that goes with it. But I'll dig it out and see if I can find a poster and see how cool it is later on.
Sounds good. I'm trying to think what else I've been watching this week. I've done an awful lot more diving into kind of my my streaming recording kind of video game / scary story side of things. So I've been watching an awful lot of other scary coverage that people do online. Of you like some of them tend to be like of fake events, creepypasta, scary stories of things like that, and then other ones they find like real world horrifying stories which are really interesting to share. And funnily enough, cults tend to pop up quite a fair bit, including cults in disguise. Like there's a really interesting one about this. It's called the Elan School, ELAN, and it was it existed in I think it like started in the 60s in the States. And basically, the whole point was to rehabilitate teenagers into working class adults. That was like their whole scheme, as they called it. But what ended up happening was they would go there and they would become dehumanized. They would have no sense of individuality. They would have the most insane rules to follow. I'll see if I can find the rules, because some of them you were just like, you're going to break these rules just by existing. And that was the point. So they would always get in trouble. And it was really interesting because then the punishments were incredibly strange and bizarre. Like there was I think there was one where one of the kids was dressed up in like a Easter bunny suit, and he had chains, like ankle chains on his feet, so he couldn't run, he couldn't move around much, and that was like, it was like ridicule and also you can't run away kind of stuff. Yeah. And then there's they have one where basically people circle around you and they just berate you for an hour. Like everybody just insults and berates you and breaks you down. It was just really, really strange stuff. And then you're like, oh, okay, well, it was also a school, right? They must have been doing some kind of learning, had a curriculum. They claimed to have one, but when you really look at it, like there are people who are still coming out saying, I went to this school, I remember what happened and stuff. And they were not ready for society after going to this place. It didn't really teach them anything practical. It had like some real basic algebra books, and that was basically it. That's all they learned, was just like a real bit of basic math, maybe a bit of basic English. It's like, these are teenagers, they need to learn more advanced stuff, not like 12-year-old books and things that are going to teach you next to nothing. And they only had like a little bit of it, and that was it. Otherwise, it was like, okay, you can clean, you can cook, you're going to wear these terrible garments, you can't shower like a normal person. They just completely broke down everything that you would have thought would have been acceptable for even like a summer camp. It wasn't even that. It was just very interesting. And somehow that school stayed open all the way up until 2010. All the way to 2010.
Wow.
It's just crazy. I couldn't believe it when I heard that. I mean, that was just unbelievable.
And where was that?
It was in the States. Give me just one second.
No, it's more believable.
Because there's tons and tons of people that weirdly went, and then they're sharing their stories in the most recent age. Oh, shut down in 2011. The abusive cult boarding school, Elan School. Let's see. We were forced to participate in staff-organized fight clubs, none of which were fair. All were designed to humiliate one child who would be put up against at least 3 others. So even the children who followed the rules were forced to fight in the name of good. Let's see. The general meeting, which is where you get berated for an entire hour behind, just by everybody. Everybody would just berate you for a whole hour, which was insane. Oh, there's just all these things. Where can I find their rules? Let me see. Because their rules were just crazy, but I watched it in a video, so that's why I couldn't remember it. Here we go. Here we go. They still have their whole website up. That would be nuts. I should have looked into this, shouldn't I? Anyway, yeah, so that was quite interesting.
Right. The land school.
Mm.
And then we got some homework.
No, we've always got homework, don't we?
Well, you give me some homework.
Oh, you mean about the 1940s film noir satire?
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watched it last night.
What did you?
And to be honest, it's the only time I've ever watched. It's always what is it? It's always
Sunny.
sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah, always sunny in
It's always
Philadelphia.
Funny in Philadelphia.
No.
That should call it that. It's always funny in Philadelphia.
So what did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. It didn't make me belly laugh, but there was a few laughs in there.
Oh, yeah.
I also think I imagine you have to be a fan. I mean, he's 14 seasons in, so I'm sure it's got a cult following. It'll be much more appreciated if you're a fan and you kind of know the characters that are playing the characters. But yeah, that was good. And I saw the references. I like the idea, obviously, because as a movie buff, I like the idea of something that pays tribute to a number of different classic movies, which I saw elements of Maltese folk in there.
Yeah,
and and Big Sleep and all the kind of Raymond Chandler, Humphrey Bogart classics. And there was, what else was the title was a play on The Postman Always Brings Twice.
Hey, he's got it. Yeah, that's right. The janitor always mops twice, based on The Postman Always Rings Twice. Very good. Very good.
And The Postman Always Brings Twice is a film which I've not really. I've seen bits of it. But I need to go back and watch it properly. Because I think my first exposure to it was the remake. It was a remake in the 80s, I think, which I started to watch and I wasn't really taken with. So I think that may have put me off even watching the original. But I think it's worth watching. It's clearly a classic and it's a film noir, suspenseful. Yeah. It's almost definitely going to be worth a watch, I'm sure.
I thought you'd get a kick out of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Obviously, I mean, for me, I am a big fan of the show. So yeah, 14 seasons in, it was just hilarious to see them just doing it just because they could, And the thing is, obviously, these are the people who made the show, which they star in it. Like the whole thing is like their creation. They write it, they direct it, they star in it. It's all their stuff. So you got Rob McElhenney, you got Charlie Day, you've got Glenn Howerton, and which is just hilarious little trio in their own different ways and everything. Yeah. But the fact they play the characters in the show, and then just for one random episode, they were like, okay, we're going to make it a 1940s film noir kind of esque style, yeah. And they're still playing their characters, but just playing in this bizarro role for this one episode, which has no connection to anything else. There's no reason they did this. They were just like, fuck it, we'll just, yeah, we're just going to pretend they're acting in a 1940s film noir, and it's just going to be a random episode, and that's going to be it. And it worked out really well. It was just so out there and goofy and funny. It was great.
Yeah,
really funny.
It was well put together, well produced.
But you could tell they took many liberties as they like to do. But that's the way comedy is, in my opinion. Nothing is safe, nothing is sacred. Everything can be taken as a joke, and it wasn't rude about it. It was like satire with the homage effect to it, and I thought it was tastefully done. Even though obviously the main problem with it was diarrhea poisoning, so just hilarious.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's
no, I
good.
definitely enjoyed it. Definitely enjoyed it. I mean, the original stuff that you're talking about there anyway was very tongue in cheek. So stuff like The Big Sleep and The Maltese Falcon, they weren't comedies. They were, suspense and kind of crime suspense, but they were also quite tongue in cheek. I mean, they were quite, some of the characters were very, very kind of rough hewn, kind of very coarsely, very crudely painted on purpose. They were almost kind of stereotypical, if you know what I mean. They were very the characters were themselves almost like parodies of themselves. So it's interesting that here we've got, and it's not the first time that these type of movies have been parodied or spoofed or whatever. But
Of course.
the interesting thing is those movies themselves were, they were somewhat serious, but they were meant to be taken as also they were a little bit over the top and deliberately a little bit hammy on purpose.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
But it's good. I think they especially like we're talking about with the 1940s film noir style. It is something that gets replicated an awful lot, because I think a lot of people, especially because beyond my kind of age group, not in an insulting way, but there are lots of people who grew up with that kind of a style. They remember that kind of thing. They have associated memories with it, which is why I think it gets brought up an awful lot in other different television shows, films, maybe even in books and stuff. I'm not 100% sure how that would translate well. That might be kind of weird, but
I'm going to see references.
It's just nice, And then my concern, or I suppose not concern, my question is, I wonder what the next big thing or style will be the reference of, because I think at the moment it's kind of going to the 80s. That seems to be the thing, because obviously like Stranger Things is kind of set in like the 70s 80s era, even though it's not fully, it's like just a big inspiration of, and you can tell they're trying to take it seriously, but there's still it still kind of takes you out of it.
It's loose in places, but they are making some effort, and especially the first series, you could tell they're making effort. Obviously, that's the 80s was just a little bit after my childhood, but I was a teen going into a young adult in the 80s. But I some of the references reminded me of the 70s, of my childhood from the 70s and stuff like that, and it was it was authentic, and they made an effort to make it authentic, especially that first series.
Oh yeah,
I don't want to say less so now. Less focus on that element to it.
Yeah,
in the latter series, but yeah, I think they've done a good job of that, and yeah, it's good. It just adds to the charm of the piece.
Fun fact: Winona Ryder, very crucial in the show, as we all know, especially those who watch. I mean, so obvious. She's one of the main people involved who's like, okay, well, because she grew up in that kind of time, and she's like, look, we would not have had it like this. This song didn't come out then. She made sure they could get it as close to as accurately as possible, and I think that's really good of her to have done, because they definitely could have had a slightly different thing going on if she wasn't so invested. So I think that's a great touch. I'm really glad that she's because I like the Kate Bush song, that's really come back into popularity. They might have done that earlier, for example, which might not have quite fit in with the timeline. Just these little things that people have noticed, which is really good. I'm really glad she's done that.
It's interesting because, I mean, so number one, my comment on that with regard to Winona Ryder is, and I didn't realize she took that, she did that consulting, but it makes sense to me, because even at the time, even when in her youth, when she was young, she was always pretty cool. She was with the cool crowd, and she was very much in touch with the zeitgeist, and famous for that. So she'd be a good person to choose, kind of to have an awareness of what was fashionable, what was cool, what were people doing, what was happening. But the interesting thing with Kate Bush as well is that Kate Bush was pretty huge. I mean, in the UK, she's English, obviously. In particular, she was very big, and that she became huge with her first hit, Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, that's right.
In the kind of mid-70s, but that success, that coolness ran into the 80s. But she was much more cool. Wuthering Heights was a much more highly regarded. So I mean, she was well established. So by the time that song came out, that gets repeated in the movie, it is the 80s, and that was huge. She was huge at that point. She was well established. But where she really stamped herself on the culture was with Wuthering Heights in the kind of mid '70s.
I mean, it's still a song you can find to this day and age. I mean, we got it playing in the I think it's on one of the restaurant playlists at the hotel. It's just, which was just hilarious. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're gonna add Running Up That Hill now because you've already got one Kate Bush song. Why wouldn't you put another one on, for example? But yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Right.
Well, should we talk about the main topic we're supposed to be talking about? Since we're 50 minutes in and we haven't started mentioning it.
Well, I think it's all right for us to just kind of do what we want with these episodes at this point, isn't it? We're just having a bit of fun. I mean, I guess we touched up a fair amount on Doctor Sleep the last time we were together talking about The Shining. I guess we could talk a bit more about it. I'll be honest, I haven't rewatched it. I know I could have, but I didn't, just because.
Yeah, me neither. To be honest.
It's not that I don't want to rewatch it. It's just because I've seen it within the past year. I'm not in a rush to rewatch it, kind of thing. Yeah. And it's the more I revisit it, because I have watched a couple of like clips and snippets and stuff, just kind of jog my memory on certain things, and I really do stand by my point of how without the whole Overlook Hotel part at the end, it could easily have just been such a standalone film. And I really think, I mean, it's good, but I don't think it would have done so well without it being attached to The Shining. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Right, it is good. It was an enjoyable film. If it was standalone, without being involved or attached to Shining, I would have been interested in watching it. I would have watched it at least one time.
I would have definitely watched it, but I don't think I would have been. I wouldn't have said it's like a fantastic film. I would have still been like, oh yeah, it was good, but then I wouldn't be bothered to ever watch it again. Kind of feel.
I wouldn't have been rushing to the movies to watch it. So as I was, I wouldn't have been desperate to get down to the cinema to watch this because this is it's such a long time since we've seen anything from that story, and I love that story and that film, and I want to. A bit like the last time I remember feeling that keen to get to the pictures because the film was so exciting to me was probably when Mama came out, because it was Del Toro producing, not directing as I thought at the time and writing, but producing, and he found there's obviously somebody that he recognises as a really brilliant young director.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I remember eagerly anticipating it and desperate to see it and thoroughly enjoying it from that first opening scene. And I felt the same about Doctor Sleep, but as you say, had it not been connected to The Shining, I almost definitely would not have felt that way. I might not have even gotten the pictures to see it.
Yeah. Because the more I really rethink about it, I love Ian McGregor. I think he's a fantastic actor in his own right. Not just because of Star Wars, he's also in Trainspotting. He's done quite a few good things with his career, and I think I'm happy to watch him in things. But there's just something about the fact that this is the sequel to The Shining. I mean, The Shining is huge. Anybody who's ever seen films, whether you like horror, psychological horror or not, whether you like Stephen King or not, The Shining it is just such a beacon of what a great timeless film is. Like I said, I even rewatched it I think a month or two ago, and I was still just so enthralled in it. There wasn't a point where I was like, I'm a little bit bored. I thought some things were a bit long and drawn out, but it was still so good. It just kept you engaged and it kept you wanting to just continue watching it. But with Doctor Sleep, there were points where you could just kind of look away for a little bit, come back to it. Didn't really miss anything. Don't really feel like much has happened. It was, I don't know. It's just. It is sad, but I mean, like I said, the Overlook Hotel part, and I suppose we shouldn't keep referencing it, but it was so pivotal. It was without any of the Overlook Hotel stuff, that film would have been worse, and it would not have done so well.
I would have been disappointed, when I went to watch the film, I mean, I enjoyed the film, as I said, but had there not been such a big reference to a key component of The Shining, as there was
Absolutely.
at the end with the Overlook Hotel, I would have been disappointed. As it was, there was. So I was pleasantly, I was gratified. I got that was my payback.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It all paid off in the end. Yeah, it's very true. Because I mean, that Overlook Hotel stuff was. I mean, it was just fantastic. The fact that Danny goes back to the hotel, he brings Abby. Oh God, no, Abra. She's got a weird name. He brings Abra with him to the hotel because they have to be kind of protected against Rose the Hat. That's it. She's coming to basically kill Abra, I suppose, at this point. And Danny's like, oh, okay, well, look, this hotel has bizarre properties and stuff. It's not good for us shiners, but that's what we're going to use against her because, this place is dangerous for our kind of people. So hopefully she won't be aware of that, but you and I are. We can do something with this. And the fact that he gets all the power on, he uses the boiler and stuff. And as we saw in what will be in this podcast episode, and it was earlier on, the amazing scene where he went to the bar and he got to see Lloyd, which was played by, his father. I thought that scene alone, I was just like, that was great. I'm really glad you did that because, you need to have Jack in it in some aspect because he was such an important character in the first film. And the fact that he's died at the Overlook Hotel means he can still be there and he can be a part of the story.
He's part of it. He's very much part of it.
It's just so good that they did that, and I'm so glad. And then the fact that that Danny had locked up all the other Overlook Hotel ghosts in his maze, in his mind, basically, and used them against Rose the Hat in order to win the fight and burn the place down. Fantastic. It was. I was like, okay, look, it might be getting a little ridiculous and a little silly. You've gone a little too far with the whole power aspect and stuff. But I thought that was quite good because it's like, well, these are dangerous entities, at the end of the day, and we're in a dangerous place, and they played to it, and I was like, that was good. That makes a lot of sense, and I can accept that. Because otherwise, I don't really know how else they were going to beat her. I thought it could have just ended up being really silly otherwise, and I mean, it is a bit silly, but at least I can appreciate what they decided to do with it in order to win the situation.
Yeah. Interesting that you talk about the way that Danny captures all these different, in the maze. He has this maze which he uses, which is his mind, which he keeps all these things, all these different weapons or whatever, or characters locked up. And it's funny because there's a link there with, and I mentioned in the last podcast that I'm not a massive fan of Stephen King, but there are certain, and not just this. I mean, Stephen King has written some stuff which has been the basis for some fantastic movies, not just The Shining. I mean, for example, The Green Mile, that's a Stephen King book.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a Stephen King story. I never would have thought that.
No, definitely not.
And there's a few others that are worth naming, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Misery.
One may not be up there with The Green Mile and The Shining, but still a decent film, a horror film that I enjoyed, based on a Stephen King book with a similar kind of motif to the Danny there keeping kind of monsters in his held in his brain is Dreamcatcher, the movie Dreamcatcher.
Oh yeah,
if you've seen that one. And I think that's got a similar kind of thing, and I enjoyed that. So Stephen King's he's got some good ideas, definitely. I think the main thing I don't like about him is, as I said, he kind of, things are very drawn out. They tend to be in his. I've never read any of his books, but the films are the most loyal to his books that I'm told. When I watch those films, they tend to be very drawn out ones. That It and Rose Red are the two classic examples. The Langoliers, this story it tends to drag. He puts the characters take so long to develop, and I'm just like, oh God, it's just
After a point, you're like, nah, this is too much.
So anyway, that's my thoughts. One thing I was going to talk about with regard to The Shining, another reference I was thinking that I was quite impressed with, a reference to the Overlook Hotel and to elements of The Shining, was in a fairly modern film. I want to say it was Ready Player One, and that's a Steven Spielberg film where they go into the game, into the video game.
That's right.
I'm sure that's the one where there's one of the. I know there's a few films like that with that kind of theme, but I'm pretty sure it's that one
Could
where
be.
there's a whole section where based on the Overlook. So there's a whole
Let me
section of
see.
of kind of puzzle or the kind of they progressing through this game in a way that normal gamers do, but and there's a whole section where they're actually in the Overlook Hotel and it's simulating. It's going through and doing scenes from The Shining.
You are correct. So yeah, Steven Spielberg reveals the secrets of the Shining sequence in Ready Player One. How about that? So
That's a good film. I enjoy that film. Really, fast, entertaining, different. Well, not that original because there's a lot of films that kind of do that, put you into games and stuff like that. But but I was particularly impressed with that because obviously being a Shining fan, I thought, oh, look at that. They've put a nice little tribute there.
Ah,
Of course, it's Spielberg, so
yeah. So he properly got to meet Kubrick, which I mean, you'd imagine,
Spielberg,
especially.
yeah, they knew Kubrick. They knew well. So look at this. So one of the movies that Kubrick always wanted to make, one of his ambitions all through his life, was to make the movie AI, which he never did. He never got around to it. It was a project he was always interested in doing. In the end, Spielberg made that because out of his kind of friendship and devotion to Kubrick, almost again as a kind of a. And I think because he wanted to make it as well, he liked the idea, but also it also was kind of a bit of a tribute to the man, to his relationship and his friendship with Stanley Kubrick, making the movie AI. So there definitely was a friendship between Kubrick and Spielberg. They definitely had a relationship.
No, that's quite interesting. That's very interesting. I think it's been referenced in a couple of other films and television shows as well. I think I mean I don't think I've seen Dark Tower, I think it's called, from 2017, yeah. But I've read somewhere that there's like an Overlook Hotel reference in there. I don't know if it's, I don't know the full details. That's just something I've heard, but I didn't look into it. That was while I was looking up the pictures that I've got to show you, because I figured I've got a couple of possible ghosty pictures of the Stanley Hotel. And since that is the Overlook Hotel, I thought that'd be quite relevant for this, and I thought I'd share them. I thought I'd share them with everybody. So give me
having visited the Stanley Hotel myself, of course, and stayed there.
That's even better. So if I do this, there we go. Can you see? Okay.
I cannot see.
You cannot see?
Can't see your screen now.
Oh. Oh. So if I go away from the Discord, it goes... Oh, that's silly. How am I supposed to share my screen then? How does that work? Unless when I'm not full screen it works. Did that work? No, it didn't. How on earth are you supposed to share your screen?
Watch stream here. I've got my screen splits into 3 sections, and the top corner is like it's I can see a picture of your screen, and the top piece is a picture of the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, but then when I tab over to it, then it changes on the Discord, and it doesn't appear anymore, does it? Like if I do that, you can't see it, right?
No, it says watch stream. I thought that was a label, but I clicked on watch stream, and now I can see.
Oh, okay. So
more clearly, but I can see your picture basically.
Yeah, so this is obviously the outside, which is quite cool, real Overlook Hotel. And then if we move on to the next one, so this is a picture of the ballroom of the Stanley Hotel, and it's just the ballroom picture. But if we go over to the next one, there's a weird little thing going on here. Not really sure what's going on, but they decided to circle it because they thought it was a ghost.
Yeah, I think it's just looks like a piece of equipment.
Could just be anything, It's always funny. It's always funny to look at, isn't it? And then this is ooh, I've caught a ghost, but it's like, it could just be dust. It could just be refraction of light. We're not entirely sure, but we'll humor the fun, won't we? And then this is apparently they saw, I think, like kind of a shadowy figure down here. I think they zoom in.
Yeah.
You really can't see anything in these. How are you supposed to know there's anything there? You just can't tell. But they said Ghost from the Stanley Hotel night tour. Oh, they even give you a date and everything. After the tour, my girlfriend asked me if I captured anything. I said nothing yet, and then came across this picture. I mean, what are we even looking at? I can't even argue that looks like it could be. That's just terrible.
Yeah.
And then here's another one. Nice big corridor. Look at the fantastic carpet. It's just so beautiful. Spent the weekend doing some ghost hunting at the Stanley Hotel. I see a face in the door at the end of the hallway. What about you? I'm not sure. I got a zoomed in picture.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
I guess kinda, but
It's paranoia, isn't it? It's basically
yeah,
your mind making a face out of what is just basically probably reflecting.
exactly. You just because I mean, look, how would you even know from this distance? That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's you're just trying to see what you want to see. I love the idea of the paranormal and ghosts and everything, but I mean, you know, you got to be skeptical because otherwise you're just gonna think everything's gonna haunt you and stuff. So this one is apparently between the chef and this lady here. There's apparently something here, which I guess you could maybe tell.
Make something out, yeah.
Yeah, you could make something out. I'm not 100% sure, but you know, that's fun. Oh, this one's a video. Okay. What's this one say? From the Stanley Hotel basement. It was only my wife and I when I took this, and we weren't talking. Disembodied voices with what looks like mist rising from the bottom right. Okay. That was a tiny video. Oh, hang on.
Tiny video on it.
That's helping.
That was a short video.
So I think I can see. So just over here, you kind of see a little bit of mist, but then he turns on the light, which just doesn't help. Yeah, you can kind of see it. So if I try that again, but that could just
a little bit missy, but then the light, like you said, it just.
It's like 2 seconds. I mean, some of these are just you just can't defend it. You just can't defend it. What do we got here? Me and a new friend at the Stanley Hotel tonight. I don't know. I don't know what we'd be looking at then. Is there maybe somebody at the end? Just painting.
Or a mirror.
I do not see anything out of the ordinary. We can do a little zoomy though. That's quite handy. But I wouldn't say.
I like how the corridor looks wonky.
Yeah, corridor does look wonky, doesn't it? But I wouldn't say I see anything. No. Oh well, it was a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
A little bit of fun, wasn't it? Right, we can stop streaming that for the moment. There we go. Yeah, so
I got to find my Stanley Hotel picture then.
Yeah, I think you do.
I'll dig it out by the end of the evening.
Did you stay at the hotel because you saw The Shining?
Yeah. Yeah, me and your mum visited because we were fans of The Shining, and we knew it had a reputation for being a haunted hotel.
Mm.
That is the reason we stayed. So
I'm guessing
the interesting thing is they actually have the Shining. They have a channel on at the hotel. So
Channel 42, yeah, TV, that just plays it the whole time, right?
The Shining.
Yeah.
The Shining's on a continuous loop.
Yeah, that's right. I did hear about that. Cool. I wonder if they let you stay in the what was it, 237? Was that the room?
No, we didn't stay in that room, but that would be from the film. That would be the room number.
Oh yeah, I think in the book it was 217.
Yeah, 217.
Something like that. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't read the book either, but I think that's what we said last time when I looked it up like a month ago.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Oh, so another thing I have been working on, which might also interest you, because I know we both like kind of spooky, scary stuff, whether it's real or not. You know, sometimes it's just entertaining. I've started coming across. There's like there's a bunch of people who do horrifying stories in different mediums, which is interesting, especially in this day and age with the capability of the internet. You've got different websites. You've got they sometimes will do. You'll get weird stories on like YouTube or TikTok or all kinds of other stuff. I don't use too many because that's just too much to keep up with. But for example, there's this new genre. I say it's new. I don't know how new it is, but it's called analog horror. And basically, what it does is it's more. So you'll be able to find these videos pretty much online, YouTube, maybe Facebook and stuff like that. But it's they take something mundane like it'll be VHS quality, older, somewhat older style technology, and they'll make horrifying things using that technology, which is really interesting because you'll watch it on whatever television you have now, but it's like the quality is shit. That's the point, because it's even more horrifying because it's even harder to make out exactly what's going on, which is quite interesting, And then another one they'll do sometimes is it's like how back in like the late 90s to 2000s when you'd be watching like news channels and stuff, you'd have it could have been teletext, you could have had like a very, very specific, like you watch news, like I think for us back in the States we used to watch Fox News quite a lot, and you'd have that kind of style of programming, and they'd base horror things using those mediums and stuff, which was interesting. It's just really, really bizarre, and some of them are really entertaining, and some of them are really shit, because it's just not everybody can do it, but it's the current interest at the moment, which is really cool. Which is really, really cool.
Movies, or are they YouTube videos, or
they're mostly shorter videos and stuff. You might get some that are kind of long, but you want them cut up into snippets, which is why that works out really effectively, because then you never know when the next one's going to come out. Some of them might give you hidden codes and stuff, which might send you to a website, which maybe you've got to do some deciphering to learn more stuff, and then you start going down a rabbit hole. It's just interesting what this day and age can bring us with these interesting storytellers. I think it's really, really cool. Some of them delve even further, and they do what's called an ARG, which is an augmented reality game, and they'll so like I said, they might give you a code somewhere in the video or maybe in a picture or something. You'll use that code, which might be like, oh, okay, it's a URL link. If I input that, it'll take me to a website. Oh, okay, the website maybe it doesn't fully take you to a website. Maybe something's missing here, or maybe it's in a code, and you have to decipher the code. You've got to use like specific ciphers and stuff, so you have to look into that. And before you know it, you're just wasting away a whole bunch of days to learn about one thing, which is quite interesting. Very interesting.
It's called analog
horror. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's pretty cool.
Check it out.
But the reason I bring up all these interesting stories and stuff that I've been looking into is because I ended up finding out about there's a couple that go on Twitter. They do like big Twitter threads of like because that's a really good pacing mechanic, especially because you got timestamps and stuff. But I found this one by a guy named Tom Taylor. I don't know how real it is, but he stayed in a haunted cabin, or he said a haunted cabin out in the Australian bush, because he's Australian. And he had some very bizarre encounters, and you can read like his whole thread story that just unfolds. He's got pictures and stuff, videos, and I found it so intriguing. I ended up doing a whole video about it because I was just like, this is just so cool, because it's like the most bizarre story you've ever heard. I mean, you got the proper timestamps going on. You've got like, this is the stuff that he was dealing with at the time. And I thought that was really interesting. And I mean, after a point, it does get a bit far-fetched, and I'm like, okay, so clearly maybe some of this is made up. That's fine. But it's just interesting to see, because I mean, who would have thought a scary story out of Twitter?
A Twitter account.
Yeah, out of a Twitter account. But to be fair, the reason I looked that one up is because I was looking for anything similar to the most infamous Twitter horror story, which is called Dear David. Now, if you don't know anything about Dear David... No. I guarantee you and Mum would love it. There is a fair bit of reading, sadly, but it spanned over a long, long, long period of time, right. And it's got some fantastic pictures. It's got some fantastic video in it. It's just crazy. It's about this cartoonist. Basically, he does digital comics and stuff for a couple of different companies. basically is what he's done with his career. And it was about what happened to him in his apartment that he was living at. And over a period of time, he was like, okay, there's some real weird shit going on here. And he really started documenting everything, like even his cats were wigging out. And at first he was like, well, this just doesn't make any sense. And then he started like home recording like his own house and just things. It was very, very strange, but a fantastic story.
Dear David, okay.
Yeah. I think you'd really, really like that.
I just remember that we did watch a film the other night because I was making a comment about, I can't remember what the film was, but trying to bring it back in my memory through the fact that I was mentioning to your mum quite often that I got a real sense that it was based, whatever this film was based, must have been based on a graphic novel, because everything was so dramatic. All the characters were all, everything was overly dramatic, overly kind of drawn. I'm trying to think, and it's a famous film, and it's one that I guess I do like, but I was watching it and noticing how everything was a little bit over the top, and I was thinking that to me, it strikes me as being, it must have been based on a graphic novel, because a lot of graphic novel based films are, you can tell the characters are much more larger than life, much more over the top in their behavior and their styling and their look and their. I'm trying to think what the film was called. I'm trying to think which film it was. It will be a film that's pretty famous, I think. That we'll have seen before. It'll come to me. Meanwhile, though, if you can do a screen share, I can show you another Stanley Hotel picture.
You should be able to do it yourself if you look at the. Yeah. It should be next to your camera button. There should be one that looks kind of like a desktop thingy. And it should say share your screen if you hover over it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And then you could choose how it shows up.
Oh.
I gotta go to the toilet, so I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. There we go.
I'll full screen it for everybody so they can see that and you can tell a bit of the story.
Okay. So that is me at the Stanley Hotel some years ago. And there's my wife making comments about the fact. So it would have been, looks like it was 2009. Yeah, that's about right. 13 years ago. I was obviously, a fashionista, setting a trend there for fashion of 9-year-olds. And it was going down, obviously that's gone down very well because 9-year-olds tend to wear those kind of clothes now. But as you can see in the background, I don't know if you can see it, but just here on the edge of this group of people, there's a really black, dark shadow person. I'm not sure what that is. I'll see if I can make it any bigger. No, I don't know if I can, but yeah, if you look really closely, you can see like a shadow figure there. Yeah, there's obviously, I didn't even know when I took this photograph. I had no idea. It's only when I went back later on and studied it very carefully, I spotted that shadow creature, very often renowned for the shadow creatures, aren't they, in these YouTube videos and things like that. I'm going to try and find another picture of interest. Nathan's completely missed that bit of fun there we had. But how about that? There, that is I said I would find it for you. That is the poster for, am I sharing the screen? I don't know what I'm doing here. You wouldn't think I'm a techie person, would you? Yeah, I think you can see it's full screen. So there, so that's the Earth Died Screaming, the poster for the Earth Died Screaming. And what else we can do too there? Well, yeah, Earth Died Screaming. Oh, that's interesting. Yes. So, how are you all doing? Have you got any feedback for us? Have you got any questions for us? We're going to give you a puzzle. We're going to give you a quiz test near the end of this episode, and it's going to challenge your knowledge of these podcasts. So you have to watch hours and hours of us just chattering to each other and muttering and mumbling away to get some nuggets of information which are going to be used in the test, and then Of course, if you get the test answers correct, you'll win £1 million. So it's got to be worth doing that, hasn't it? For £1 million prize. Is it? Oh no! So wait a minute. It's not £1 million prize. Sorry, no, it's not £1 million prize. It's a blue packet of blue cotton, blue packet containing cotton wool. So that's £1 million. Same thing. Anyway, here we are, and I'm still drinking my beer. There we are. It's my beer. Say hello. Hello, I'm Max Beer. So, did you watch it this week? What did you think of it? Did you read the book? What do you think of that? And I think that some of our watchers were commenting that Stephen King's books were much better, or The Shining was better, the book was better, or the film. Well, I can't give a fair comment on that because, to be honest, I've never read any of Stephen King's books. I've only ever seen films based on his books, but I've never read the books, so I can't comment. My son Jordan has, I think my wife Tracy has read some and they seem to like them, but no, I'm not. I don't read very often. I'm rambling a little bit now, disappearing down a rabbit hole, running out of things to say, so I'm going to drink. Earth Day screaming. Look at that. Look at that monster. I mean, it's quite unique. Is that monster? That's the poster from the Earth Day screaming. Managed to find it. I thought it'd have a cool poster, and it does.
Ah.
And then I don't know if you got to see the picture of the Shining of the Stanley Hotel. I'll show you that. All our viewers have just been watching that and getting a bit of that, and at the same time getting some ghost reaction. Because I was saying, look, there's a in the background where those people are standing. There's also that dark shadow character there.
Yeah. Ah, spooky.
So there you go. It is haunted. But there's a proof.
That's all the proof we needed.
So that's me and the Stanley Hotel.
Very cool. Very cool. So, in order to keep it,
next beer yet?
no, I haven't grabbed another one yet. I did think about it, but we'll see. We'll see how I do. In keeping with the theme of hotels, though, but still hotels with a horrifying history.
It says broadcasting to you from a hotel.
Quite right. I'll go ahead and pop us over. If I do, it's not going to be this story. Don't worry. This could come up though. Here we go. That's a bit more like it. So, what do you know about H.H. Holmes Hotel?
Well, I know that H.H. Holmes was a prolific serial killer, one of the first on record in the States, based out of Chicago. Had a special brick hotel constructed, which had all kinds of little Sweeney Todd-esque traps and things that he had constructed for his victims. I know quite a bit about H.H. Holmes, but anyway, you tell us.
Yeah, you've done quite good. So the 100 rooms of the H.H. Holmes Hotel, also known as his murder castle, were allegedly filled with trapdoors, gas chambers, staircases to nowhere, and a human-sized stove. I mean, you've even got this is a bit of a crude drawing that the police did when they eventually raided his place. And this was of his second floor, because at the first floor he sold out to smaller businesses and stuff in order to kind of bring in foot traffic. And he was hoping he would then get more people to kind of go upstairs and to the other floors of his bizarro building. I think he only had 2 or 3 floors, so not too much. But as you can see here, you got the staircase that comes up. You start from this hallway, and there's just all these doorways. You've got a waiting room down here, a dark room here, reception room, secret chamber, 5-door room, I don't know, chute from roof to basement, secret hiding place, mysterious closed room, asphyxiation chamber. I mean, this guy clearly had some very interesting ideas in mind.
Yeah.
I think it was also known as the World's Fair Hotel. It's quite interesting. You might run up a flight of stairs and find that it led nowhere. You'd open doors and see only solid brick. You'd enter a bedroom and suddenly smell gas seeping in. You'd try to run only to realize you were locked in. Even if you could open the door, you probably couldn't find your way out of the house, and before long you'd meet your gruesome end. Back in the 1890s.
The World's Fair Hotel, because he was in operation during the World's Fair, which was in that location. So he was taking advantage of that major event.
Yeah. But a police investigation later revealed something far more sinister. While it remains unknown how many people Holmes murdered in his House of Horrors, he once boasted of killing 27. However, some estimates claim the actual number may have been as low as 9 or as high as 200. 200! I mean, that's quite a lot of people. When you really think about it.
It's also a large margin of error.
Yeah, quite right. Anywhere from 9 to 200. I mean, what's happened there, you know?
That's some great mathematics there. Chicago Police Department.
Yeah. It's just crazy. It's just really crazy to think about. Because I remember, especially growing up in the States and going to school and stuff there, we still learned about Jack the Ripper. But I don't think Jack the Ripper boasted any insane number of serial murders. I mean, he was a serial killer, but, in Whitechapel, in England. And yet we learned nothing about Holmes, about H.H. Holmes, which is just, you think that would have been brought up if we're talking about serial killers. You'd be like, oh, okay, what about the States? But I guess the States don't like talking about their own grisly problems, do they?
Well, probably because they have considerably more than us.
Yeah, they just don't always like talking about it, do they?
Yeah. Yep, there he is.
First came to Chicago in 1886. Like in college when he worked in an anatomy lab and mutilated cadavers to defraud life insurance companies. Oh, wow, okay, so even at a younger age he was doing some bad stuff. Or when he was the last person to have been seen with a missing little boy in New York. Or when he worked as a pharmacist in Philadelphia and a customer died after taking his pills. Jesus. After all these incidents...
He was a full-on conman and murderer throughout.
Yeah. God, no kidding. In 1887, he bought an empty lot across the street from the store where he worked and began construction on a 3-story building, which he said would be used for apartments and shops, which I guess he wasn't fully lying. It was used for shops, and it did allow people to stay there, even though it wasn't really a hotel. It was ugly and large, containing more than 100 rooms and stretching for an entire block, but Chicago was a city on the rise, and new construction was going up all over it was pretty normal, commonplace. Perfectly situated on the shores of Lake Michigan, central hub for railroads. Okay, makes sense. The Murder Castle of Chicago. I mean, so for his mansion, he planned for the first floor to contain an entire block of storefronts that then would start attracting a lot of people in. Kind of like a shopping mall, I suppose. The third floor would contain apartments. Oh, okay, so we did have proper apartments. I did not know that. For new residents looking to make it big in the Windy City. And then I think it was the second floor. That's where that's where his real madness kind of came into play. Yeah. And I mean, he even had a body chute, which then would go down to the basement. And I think that's where he probably finished the killing.
That's the Sweeney Todd type thing, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah. Here we go. Those victims got to see the second floor, one that was allegedly full of asphyxiation chambers, mazes, and hidden stairs, and the especially unlucky victims made it down to the basement, which hid the elaborate horrors for which H.H. Holmes' house is now famous. Okay, oh yeah, he switched builders and architects quite frequently, so nobody knew what was going on. Completed in 1892, and only 2 years later, police would be exploring its winding passages while Holmes was behind bars. So he didn't even, kill people for a very long time when you really think about it with this hotel. No. That's crazy. As for Holmes' own apartment, it had a trapdoor in the bathroom which opened to reveal a staircase that led to a windowless cubicle. In the cubicle there was allegedly a large chute that tunneled through to the basement. It wasn't for dirty laundry. Oh man, so even in his own apartment he'd be having the dead bodies. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, I thought we'd just touch up a little bit on another hotel with a dark history.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a Prime documentary on him at the minute on Prime. I think he's on Prime. I've seen there is definitely it might be on Netflix. There's definitely on documentary going at the minute on one of the free channels.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So if you want to learn some more,
Might have to learn a little bit more about that crazy bastard. Because yeah, no doubt about that. That was
you like learning about crazy bastards.
I do. There's just something strange but interesting about, especially when you find out that some of these people were real. Then I think that's really what makes it more intriguing. The whole, you really try to understand the psyche. But I think it's good that we don't understand, But it's still good to learn about maybe certain telltale signs that these people were giving off, or just interesting to learn the dark history. This is how we improve a society. We have to learn from these horrors.
Well, you would hope. I mean,
I suppose we're not really here to do the public service,
I
are
don't think
we?
you've done much improving.
Yeah, no.
But,
I don't think we'll help too much with that. But we have good intentions.
yeah. America's first series on Prime Video at the minute. H.H. Holmes, America's first serial killer.
So it's some
I'll
Prime.
show you that real quick.
And,
Show you the link. If I can learn to use the technology.
That's all right. I've got the app on my phone. I'll look it up and add it.
Is it showing?
It maybe in like a text chat.
I just don't get it.
Yeah, I see it.
Let's just say go live. There we are.
Oh yeah.
So it is on Prime. I thought I'd seen it on the listing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've watched it, but I watched documentaries before about him. He's definitely a fascinating, intriguing, maniacal character.
He definitely is a bit maniacal. Is a good word for it. Certainly had some very interesting ideas in mind, didn't he? Not like a simple serial killer where they just kill them, maybe cut up the bodies or something, try to hide them. I mean, he came up with a whole elaborate building to get away with this stuff, and yet, even back in the 1890, you think the police might not have fully caught on to stuff, but I mean, within 2 years they got the guy. That's pretty good when you really think about it. I don't know how many people he killed, but I think it could have certainly been worse.
I think they were getting reports of odd goings on from either from his tenants or from people that he'd tried to lure into his castle and got a bit of a bad vibe, and they kind of ran away and reported it. I think they were starting to get a few. There was getting to be a trend of reports. That's fairly early on, which is what led to them suspecting him.
That's very good. It's good that the people were smart and aware and told the police about it. That's good. I'm really happy for him.
Me too. So I said to the crew here, to the watchers, to our massive audience out there, that we do a special test at the end of this podcast where we would ask questions to see whether they've been paying attention in either this podcast and the last podcast, and that we'd give them what do you call it, a pop quiz, and they could submit their answers, and the winner, the person who got the answers all correct, would win £1 million. And then I realised it's not £1 million; it's just a little ball of cotton wool. But it's still, there's a big prize there for somebody who can remember what we've been talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Random questions.
We're gonna have to come up with questions now.
We do, yeah.
So somebody out there can win some cotton.
£1 million or
the mystery prize. £1 million or the mystery prize. You got to go with the mystery prize.
Not too mysterious now, but
yeah.
Still,
we're picking it for you. You're getting the mystery prize because £1 million, that ain't happening.
Yeah, you might get £1 million. You never
might.
know.
You could trade it. You never
We'll
know.
do a toss of a coin or something like that. We'll find a way to, you can play, you can do gamble or collect. So we'll give you this prize initially, and then we'll say, do you want to gamble or do you want to collect? Do you want to take the cotton wool or do you want to gamble and take a chance at getting the £1 million?
Oh my god.
But that's only if you remember the answers to these questions.
Okay. Have you thought of the questions?
I've thought the first question is, what is the most famous person from the country of Angola? No, that can't. We didn't talk about Angola at all. I don't know where I'm getting that idea from.
I don't know what was in that beer you drank, but it clearly wasn't just Hogarden.
Hogarden's quite strong. It's not bad. It'll get you.
No, it's good.
Get
It's
you
good.
there.
I quite like Hogarden. It's got a very nice taste and everything.
Question. It's look at that. It's my cloak of invisibility. That bottle of Hogarden is my cloak of invisibility.
Well done, Dad. You've cracked it. You've cracked invisibility. See the bottle of Hogarden. There you go. That could be our question number 1. What's the secret to invisibility?
Well, no, I have got a question. It's nothing to do with the podcast, so it's already breaking the rules. It's
All right.
It's in a recent film. There was a character that's talking about his cloak of invisibility, and it's not Harry Potter. There's a big clue for you. Sorry, not Harry Potter. It's not Harry Potter, and it's not Bilbo Baggins or Frodo Baggins. So,
Okay.
well, it wouldn't be because it's not a cloak, is it? It is not. So it's not Harry Potter because Harry Potter's the one that you would think would have a cloak. Did have a cloak.
That's right.
But it's not that. There's a recent film, in which a character talks about his cloak of invisibility. Oh no, it's not a film. It's a TV series, and we have talked about it. We've discussed it in this podcast. There we go. Yeah, eventually,
Okay.
I knew thoughts would all
we
get
got
together
there.
and
We got there.
and get some sense out of them.
All right. That's good. That's
So,
our first. That's our first question.
In the TV series we've talked about in either this podcast or the last podcast, and the character talks often about his cloak of invisibility. There's £1 million here, folks. That's question 1 out of 3. All you need to do is get all 3 questions right, and of course, gamble when you get the cotton wool prize. And
Obviously,
who knows?
gotta gamble. All right, so that's question 1. Ooh, okay. No, I think I've got it for question 2.
Okay.
What beer am I drinking on this episode?
Oh, well, that's too easy.
Yeah, but I mean, look, yeah. That's at the start. So if they made it this far, they can see it again. But it wasn't very long. And I mean, are they going to remember? I don't know.
No,
I don't know. It could be an easy one. It could be a difficult one. I don't know. They might not have even made it this far.
You've got to give the folks a bit of a chance, don't you?
Yeah, got to give them a little lifeline.
Yeah. So one last question, we'll have to think about that. I'm still trying to think what that film is that we're watching the other day. It wasn't that long ago. Oh, and I was.
Have you seen any of the trailers for the new Lord of the Rings TV series?
Yes.
Looking pretty good. I'm pretty excited. The Rings of Power on Prime Video. I'm very excited. It does look pretty good. We'll see what happens though.
I thought that another series we've been watching. We watched one episode. Was Obi-Ben Kenobi.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was a bit not much going on there.
It's so I've finished it. It starts off slow. It does get better, and yes, good stuff does happen. So I do recommend it. You got to stick through it a little bit, but it picks up pretty quick.
And on somebody else's recommendation, it's all been TV. I've definitely watched some films. On somebody else's recommendation, I watched for the first time, I think maybe last week, the first episode of Peaky Blinders. I've never seen it before, and it's obviously it's highly regarded by those that watch it. It's got its fans. It's pretty good. It wasn't amazing, but it was interesting. Pretty good. Cillian Murphy. His character was, I thought he played a character. I mean, it's a character that any kind of alpha male would love to take, like Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name. The character that just just cool and calm and just tough and just hidden. It's kind of, and most men would like to play that character. And it's always like the Tom Hardy kind of, when he's played that in Taboo and things like that. Any man probably would like to be that kind of cool, quiet, dangerous leading character. But
Tall, dark, and mysterious. Yeah,
quite interesting.
Brooding.
Good bit of history there.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I definitely hear about it.
I guess it's worth a look. At least the first episode. That's all I've watched so far.
Yeah. It's fair.
I'm not being of a mind to watch anymore.
No, not right away. It'll come though. The time will come.
What was that film? I'm trying to remember what film was. When I was saying that the characters were, that it had to be because I'm now genuinely curious if it was based on a graphic novel. Because I could have sworn I was
Could
watching
be.
it
I mean,
thinking,
if they're quite over the top, sounds
Yeah.
quite likely.
I was
Did they
going
have
to
any
research afterwards, and
powers
they said-
or anything, or was it like? Is there anything else of significance you can think of?
Well, I remember watching a documentary about Alien. It wasn't Alien. Alien again, a bit like The Shining for me. Alien kind of stands up there. It's a
Oh,
what a
definitely,
top-notch film.
definitely.
What a quality movie. What was it? Oh, anyway, it'll come to me.
It'll come to you.
It'll come to me.
Third
It
question.
might be in the next episode of the one after that, the next podcast
Good.
of the one after that, but it will.
It'll just hit you. It'll just hit you, and
Yeah.
that'll be all right. Yeah. Let's think of this third question. What's the third question gonna be?
Well, it should be related to The Shining, shouldn't it? Or Doctor Sleep, since this podcast series was supposed to be about those films.
Hmm.
I think.
I could give them a difficult one, based on The Shining.
Yeah.
Name all the Overlook Hotel ghosts
Well, that is a difficult one.
from the book and the film, not like from the Stanley Hotel. I'm talking the Overlook Hotel, the ones that he captures. That's tough. I don't even know them. I know what they look like. I don't know the names.
We don't even know if they're going to be right. We'll be getting their answers and marking them down, and we'll go, "Oh wow, I didn't even know there was a ghost."
I'll check it. I'll check it.
You
That's fine.
figure it out.
Oh
You'll
yeah.
fact check it.
Oh yeah. I know how to find out. That's fine. I just don't know all the names right now.
I think I've got a bonus.
All right.
So in the Stanley Hotel, which we have talked about, of course, in this episode, in this podcast, there is, I believe, in the foyer or in the main entrance area, there is a display of a product, a famous product created by Dr. Stanley, who created the Stanley Hotel, who created this as a retreat back in the day, as a spa for sick people. But he also he was a businessman. He was involved with more than one business apart from the hotel, and he had a famous. I'm not going to tell you what the product is. I don't want to give any part of it away. I just want to know what it was, what the model was called. That's actually a display, I believe, and I could be completely wrong. And if I am, I apologise. But there's an example of one of his early products on display as an exhibit in the Stanley Hotel in the foyer. So I'm trying to find ways of making that not easy to Google, but of course you can probably Google your way to find out what that is. But that's the bonus question. Now with those 4 questions, I think you could well have earned yourself some nice cotton wool if you get it right. All you need to do is put the answers in the comment section. If it's the YouTube, I don't know what happens in Spotify. Do they have comments and things like that, or on the other media platforms that we're using?
I know I can do polls, and I can do like an ask a question. I'm not sure about comments. That's a good point. I will have
or if you're consuming this from the Movieland Facebook page, you can put it in the.
Oh yeah, you can
there.
You could definitely put stuff on the Movieland Facebook page, or
if you don't want to share your answers with other people because you're very protective of the cotton wool.
Yeah.
You
But this will
could
also go
direct
out on
messages.
on YouTube, in which case you can respond there in the comments. That'd work out fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Or send us a direct message, a private message.
Yeah, so send us a smoke signal, Carrier pigeon is acceptable too. Don't know how much it costs these days, but there is one more thing I want to leave us off on, though. And it does pertain to that story that did pop up. So what I gotta do... Here we go. So luckily it's a pretty short story. It's a little spooky. I thought it'd be pretty good to read.
Okay.
So it's called This New Old House, and it's by Bat Out of Hell 821. We bought an old house, my boyfriend and I. He's in charge of the new construction, converting the kitchen into the master bedroom, for instance, while I'm on wallpaper removal duty. The previous owner papered every wall and ceiling. Removing it is brutal but oddly satisfying. The best feeling is getting a long peel, similar to your skin when you're peeling from a sunburn. I don't know about you, but I kinda make a game of peeling on the hunt for the longest piece before it rips. Under a corner section of paper in every room is a person's name and a date. Curiosity got the best of me one night when I googled one of the names and discovered the person was actually a missing person. The missing date matching the date under the wallpaper. The next day I made a list of all the names and dates. Sure enough, each name was for a missing person with dates to match. We notified the police, who naturally sent out the crime scene team. I overheard one text say, "Yep, it's human." Human? What's human? Ma'am, where is the material you removed from the walls already? This isn't wallpaper you were removing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Short and sweet. But, grisly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very, very Ed Gein.
I just thought I'd change it up a little bit.
When they were taking that wallpaper down, because it was, I noticed that for me, I'm not a big DIY person or decorator, but one thing I always used to love to do was to strip wallpaper, because if I had an industrial steamer, I used to have an industrial steamer, and they're awesome. It's just so satisfying when you kind of put that on and you strip it down. Oh, it's a very satisfying feeling. Now, yeah, had I realised afterwards that it was human skin that I was peeling off there, that
might have been very different.
That might be a bit of a
Might have been very
sensation.
different. Yeah, it's certainly a good, short, scary story. Very, very enjoyable.
So that seems to be my that's my seat in my spaceship. That's what I'm calling it, behind me at the moment. So in a minute I'll be taking off. I'll just be going and sitting on that seat, and I'll be jumping in my little cockpit there, sitting on that seat. Here we are. This one here. Oh, it just got smaller. I just got bigger than it. Well, that's not really working, is it? There we go. Oh no, that's definitely not working. Okay.
That was a good idea.
It was a good idea.
It's occupied.
Oh, is it?
I think so. I think there's a little dude in that seat.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, there is. Yeah, with the ears and a little stupid tuft. Oh, the guy that's in the picture. He looks similar to the guy in the picture from the back.
Must be what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been a pretty good episode.
Sure.
Covered all kinds of different things. Went off on tangents from the from Doctor Sleep. It brought us into different avenues. It was good. I think it was very good.
Yeah, me too. It was a nice midweek evening session for us. Not like the normal weekend session, so we'll probably feel a bit more chilled, maybe a little bit less energetic than certainly I do.
Maybe
than normal, but it allows you to bring out some nonsense, doesn't it?
Quite right.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's a good ending point. Thank you very much, everybody. If you've made it this far, don't forget to have a crack at the quiz and see if you can score yourself £1 million or some cotton wool. But that'll be it from us for this week. Hopefully we'll see you again in a week's time. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we'll definitely do another one in the future. Don't worry.
Okay. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Take care.